Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello, I'm DK Singh. Let me start this episode of Politically Correct with a teaser. So I'm going to give you the itinerary of a prominent personality and you have to guess who he could be. I have already given you a clue, it's he, not she. So here is the itinerary. Guwahati, 2nd to 5th of December. Again Guwahati, 12th of December. Kolkata, 12th and 13th of December. Kozhikode and Thiruvananthapuram, 29th and 30th of December. Chennai, 13th and 14th of January. Coimbatore, 17th and 19th of February. 17th, 18th and 19th of February. Now, ring a bell. Of course, I'm not talking about an opposition leader like, say, Rahul Gandhi, because all these tours are kind of within the country and they're pretty hectic. You may be guessing that it could be the Prime Minister or the Home Minister or probably the BJP President, JP Nadda. In fact, none of them. So let me end this suspense. I'm giving you just last clue. This person called on Mithun Chakraborty in Mumbai last week and had breakfast with him. Of course, I'm sure you must have guessed. It's RSS chief, RSS Sarsang Chalak, Mohan Bhagwat. So how do we explain all these frequent trips to poll-bound states? Now, there is one reason. Because in some ways, here is an opportunity for the RSS to complete the unfinished task so far. Because the BJP's expansion across the country has already happened. In the south, especially, not just in south, in West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, RSS has bigger things at stake. So look at this, when we are talking about this unfinished task, if you recall MS Golwalkar, who was the second RSS chief, who is called Guruji by RSS Swayampsevaks. Now what he said, he had called communists as an internal threat to India or to his idea of the Hindu nation. In Tripura, BJP has actually decimated the left. Left is nowhere to be seen. In West Bengal, of course, left is on the political margins today, but it may be Mamata Banerjee and BJP has been taking her on pretty aggressively. But the left is not finished ideologically. Left continues to be a big force ideologically in West Bengal. Besides, even if Mamata Banerjee does not have a hammer or a sickle in her hand or marks on her lips, she is more left than the left. But there the main target, while the BJP is all out to basically finish Mamata Banerjee, for the RSS the bigger idea is, if the BJP is able to form the government there, Mamata Banerjee will of course be out, but then it will finally and fully decimate the left in West Bengal. Same in Kerala. Kerala, the Left Democratic Front is running the government there. Now in all these states, see in West Bengal is of course where the Jansangh founder Sama Prasad Mukherjee was born. In West Bengal, RSS has been working for decades, but somehow its political protege, say the BJP and earlier even Jansangh, could never really get that kind of foothold. In Assam is of course important because in the northeast the RSS has started working well before India's independence, from I think 1939-40 onwards. And Silchar MP Rajdeep Roy was telling me the other day that the first RSS Pracharak who reached Assam was way back in 1948. His name was Ram Singh. Even Rajdeep Roy's father, who was a Jansangh corporator, he later on went on to become BJP MLA. So he was trying to say that, you know, the RSS has been there in the northeast for a long time. It's only after 2014 onwards that you saw the BJP actually getting taste of power in the northeastern states, including Assam. So Assam is pretty important for the RSS too. Kerala, of course, in Kerala, you know, Golwalkar, from 1940s onwards, RSS has been very active in Kerala. So in 1940s, actually, there were at least a couple of occasions where Golwalkar's meetings were violently disrupted by the communists. These are all documented facts actually. That tells you when this fight between the RSS and the left started. I mean, long before the independence of the country. It has been on, but while RSS has been present in Kerala for a long time, ideologically it's still not the kind of force that the Sangh would want itself to be. It's still the left versus the Congress there. Come to Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, actually RSS reached that state way back in 1939. But somehow, probably because of the self-respect movement of Periyar, where the anti-Brahminism was at its core and which dictated the state's political philosophy and discourse, somehow the RSS could not really gain ground. But the RSS never really gave up in Tamil Nadu either. So you had this Akhil Bharatiya Pratidhi Sabha, that apex body of the RSS, where all the important decisions and policies, strategies, all these things are formulated. That Akhil Bharatiya Pratidhi Sabha met in Coimbatore in 2017. That tells you how consistent the RSS has been, even in areas where it has struggled for decades to expand its footprint. So, when we are talking about Bhagwat's itinerary, these are the immediate goals I am talking about, the electoral goals for the BJP. So, it serves the BJP also, it serves the RSS. But here is a larger narrative. The larger narrative is that finally the RSS seems to be understanding the power dynamics. So, every time it had its pracharaks or swamsevaks, or it had any stakes in the government, this really did not really work much for the RSS. So, way back in say 1977, Janata Party government, of course Bharatiya Janata Sangh was part of it, but that, the Janata Party was formed by all these people, all these parties representing the left, the center, the right. Vajpayee was the external affairs minister then in that government. But the RSS did not really have much say. Come to 1989, when VP Singh formed the government, with the support of the BJP from outside. But then again, left was also supporting from outside. RSS again did not have any say. So for the first time, the RSS got its own pracharak or volunteer as the Prime Minister of the country was in 96, but that was just for a few days. 98 onwards, we saw how when Vajpayee was there, RSS got its own pracharak as the Prime Minister, fully in control of the government, but then it was a coalition government and RSS could not really push its core agenda. And what you saw was this very conscious attempt by the RSS to work on two ends actually. One was to somehow keep itself or project itself as being distant from power, like not interested in power, not controlling it. And on the other hand, trying to control the policies, narratives. So all the time you saw those fights between the RSS and the BJP, not publicly of course, but on many occasions RSS publicly dissociated itself from Vajpayee government's policies. And it was also not very happy because Vajpayee government was not able to push its core agenda because of coalition compulsions. It is only from 2014 onwards that we saw, another pracharak coming at the helm and actually pushing its agenda. But what happened after 2014 onwards also was this, I would say, this unease about the personality cult of Modi. So what RSS's firmly held conviction is that, an individual does not matter that much, and whenever you have this personality based politics, your ideological mission gets compromised. And so for several years, for initial few years, I would say that this discomfort, unease, but gradually you have seen that the RSS has understood the power dynamics of having political power and the opportunity for ideological expansion. So now what you're saying, this total coordination. So earlier during Vajpayee's time, for instance, there was this RSS Joint General Secretary Madan Das Devi. Now Madan Das Devi used to be the chief source of liaison, I would say, between the RSS and the government, actually Vajpayee government. Today it happens at every level. Of course, the RSS always had, what you call like RSS, when you have this BJP General Secretary organization or Secretary organization. So they are very powerful people who are actually loaned, the RSS pracharaks, who are actually loaned to the BJP to coordinate. So at different level, such coordinations have been happening over several decades. But when it comes to the deeper involvement in policy making, we have talked about Madan Das Devi in Vajpayee government. Today what you see, say what happens now, Prime Minister Modi and RSS chief Bhagwat, they keep meeting. Of course, it's never advertised as such, so there is no news item, there is no press release, but they meet at least 4-5 times a year. So there is this total symmetry between the RSS leadership and the government today. So of course, it helps that Bhagwat is elder to Modi just by 6 days. So they understand each other very well. But what is happening today is this coordination is at so many levels It's not just about the General Secretary organization of the BJP coordinating between the RSS or the government or the party for that matter. What is happening at every level, this coordination, you see that coordination working out. So say for instance in education and cultural affairs where RSS is very interested in pursuing its agenda. So you have somebody like say Mukul Kanitkar of Bharatiya Shikshan Mandal. So he will be coordinating with or actually guiding the education minister, say Ramesh Pokhriyal. Say in tribal affairs for instance where so many affiliates of the RSS have been working on the ground. So you have somebody like say Atul Jog of Vanvasi Kalyan Parishad. He would be coordinating with Arjun Munda, the tribal affairs minister. So coordination is happening at various levels. It's not just about the ideological issues being pushed. You see a new RSS here. Here's an RSS which is trying to build on Modi's popularity to expand its own footprints, its ideological ground. So those initial inhibitions about BJP becoming so personality dominated or Modi becoming bigger than the RSS, those apprehensions are gone today. Today what you say is there is total coordination. So while BJP, the RSS is totally synchronizing its efforts in terms of its expansion with the BJP. So you see the BJP while you see Amit Shah or Nadda campaigning in West Bengal and Yogi Adityanath in Kerala, you also see Bhagwat traveling to all these places. So idea is very simple. Modi, there cannot be a bigger ambassador of Hindutva or the RSS than Narendra Modi today. And RSS is building on that, giving up on all the reservations that it had about personality cult. RSS is building on, and basically the idea is while the BJP is expanding everywhere, expanding its footprints everywhere from northeast to west and now trying down south, why not the RSS also? So RSS is trying to actually RSS has started following the same model, build on Modi's popularity and expand your footprint wherever you can. And that explains the itinerary that I talked about in the beginning of this program. Thank you.